You're watching Business News. With Nigeria's food inflation hovering about 20%. International organizations like the IMF have raised an alarm that this is a major factor fueling inflation in Nigeria and other sub-Saharan African nations and might exacerbate present economic downturns. Higher food inflation is expected to worsen the situation for a country already facing food insecurity and shortages, with a disproportional impact on poor households. The number of undernourished persons in the region is projected to have increased by 20% in 2020, encompassing 264 million people. What are the impact of this rising inflation, and what point do we expect to beat a retreat? Joining me for this discussion is the CEO of Finance with Muktar Muhammed. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Good morning.
The rising food inflation, the high cost of food this year has been far higher than previous years. What do you think would have fueled this?
Well, number one, we won't stop talking about the COVID pandemic. It's one of the big cause of that. Then secondly, the insecurity in the land is a major cause of what we're seeing now, because a lot of farmers have not been able to go to farm, and then we've not seen movement of goods and services from some of the food. Like when you look at talk about the food basket in Nigeria, you look at Benue State, Southeast, Northeast, North Central. These are places that have been going with a lot of insurgency. So farmers have not been able to go to farm as fierce. So most of them are just cultivating just to take care of themselves, to bring down here. And then when you look at the cost of transportation also, and the challenges they face on the way when they are bringing these goods from Nigeria, from their various states, because of the insecurity. Also, they tend to pay high in terms of transportation costs. They have to battle with military also on the way, and a lot of challenges that these farmers face. And some of them just feel that it's not necessary to go through all this, so we just consume and just take care of ourselves.
So how do we mitigate these challenges?
Number one is, we know what insecurity is a problem that this administration met, and I mean, we give it to them. They've tried in their own ways to see how they can reduce insecurity, but I think the result is not yet good enough. And the pandemic also, like I said. So first and foremost, we need to address those insecurity points, especially the ones that we have control over, like the farmer herdsmen crisis. Is something that we should be able to address within ourselves if the government have the political will, and have the impetus to do the right thing. Then I don't think that should be a major problem. Then secondly, we need to look at also the cost of transportation, the cost of goods, and that has to do with infrastructure. And kindly enough, this government also is doing so much in that area in terms of the movement of goods, like the railways are coming into this. So sometimes we see those things begin to play, and that will bring down the cost of goods. And again, realize that there are a lot of things that cause it. There's the microeconomic instability also that has to do with inflation also, that we talk about cost inflation that comes up with production. Then there's the macroeconomic inflation that comes up with demand and supply. So when you look at these two inflation, both are now on the same page. You have the cost of inflation that comes because of demand and supply, and the macroeconomic inflation that comes from demand and supply. Then you now have the cost inflation that comes because of cost of production, and both are in it at the moment. So it's a huge tax.
So if the government decides to or handles all of this, we have insecurity dealt with, the COVID-19 pandemic no longer being a threat, infrastructure is involved. Do you think the prices of food will go down? Because like they say in Nigeria, once the price of food goes up, it never comes down.
Yeah, economical term, demands and supply comes in. It's not just about the prices of food going down. It's about what demands that we have for those prices of food. If you listen,
the demand is always there.
Yeah, you look at what came out from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. I mean, just some weeks ago, in terms of our trade deficits, realized that most of our means of foreign exchange engine is just in oil and gas, and also our importations, exportation of a lot of products, so same oil and gas, and then importation, you see importation of wheat product. And when you see wheat being imported into this country, then it's going to put all the cereal food that has to do with each household. And so the challenge we have is that we still import virtually what we should have been able to take care of. From that report, about 60% of our goods are coming out of the country, and that also is the bend, because some of these goods that used to come in from the northeast, southeast, I mean from the north central, from the northeast, and from the middle belt are not able to come here. So it's not easier to even import those goods because of the insecurity challenges. So for you to address those problems, even when you address the insecurity challenges, like I talked about inflation costs, then you need to look at the cost of inflation. They need to come back again and look at the microeconomic stability. Now, what we see in the microeconomic stability, what we are enjoying the microeconomic stability is as a result of the CBN trying to make sure they do what they have to do. And the CBN has even gone beyond the macroeconomic stability. Now beginning to do what ordinarily should be, what the government side should be doing, direct intervention into sectors that are supposed to be for the conventional bargain, bringing out policies to help in area of production, like we've seen the rice on.
But how has that helped? The policies from the CBN?
Yeah, the CBN have tried, but we have our concerns, because you can see it with the anchor borrowing scheme for the rice production. Now the CBN is crying that most of these farmers that collected these loans are refusing to pay because they don't have the mechanism in terms of retrieving or recovering of loan. They don't have that risk, adventure risk to decide who to give loans. So that's the major challenge, because what just happens that maybe we just throw money at a problem, throw money at anybody that
expects it to be solved
immediately. So for me, the CBN have tried to do what they do, but it's because of the physical side are not doing what they ought to do. So the CBN have to go in there, because no matter what the CBN does, if the physical side are not doing what they ought to do, then it's going to not, we're going to see the result. So the CBN is doing both the monetary and the physical side, trying to make sure that the result that they are putting on in the monetary side should begin to bend down Nigeria. As again, the most challenges we have also as a country is that we don't address our issues on the bottom to the up approach, because we tend to look at the up and then bring it down. So that's a major challenge. We need to go to the bottom. We need to begin to develop a mechanism for how we can, policies that can help attract a lot of, not just propaganda policy that said, oh, we are beginning to solve something in this, in that. We must begin to see those results. And when we start to see those results, definitely in terms of economic terms will come to play, demand and supply. And naturally, when it comes to play, these goods and services will go down.
Well, Nigerians will be impatient to see the results, but one day expect that this will get the impacts of all of these policies that the CBN is bringing, the federal government and all of that. How, when, at what point?
I think we'll see those impacts. We've seen those impacts in terms of the inflation figures have been coming down from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. But you can see that the food inflation figures hasn't come down. That also due to a lot of factors that sometimes beyond their own control. You look at the farming season also. You have to look at also, like I keep saying, the COVID pandemic also, a lot of issues are still being tackled there. Then you look at also the insecurity. So those are things that are beyond their own control. So for Nigerians, you need to be patient with them. So we didn't get here overnight, so we'll not get out of it overnight. We'll begin to see those policies begin to play. We see them, they're intervening in the Texas sector, they've intervened in the rice sector. We now have, at least before the pandemic came in, we're almost doing like 70 to 80% of our own local consumption of rice. But after the pandemic came in and the insecurity worsened, we've gone back to like importing rice. And Nigerians always also, it has to also deal with Nigerians also high demand for foreign goods also. It's one of other challenges that we as a nation, sometimes it's not even what that government is not doing the right thing. Government is doing the right thing, but we as a people are ready to patronize the made in Nigerian goods. And then that's why I'm talking about cost of production, because cost of production is high. It seems to be cheaper to even import than to even do the production here in Nigeria.
All right, Muktar, thank you so much. Muktar Muhammed, thank you so much for talking to us on this.
My pleasure.